Ever wondered about an empire that lasted for over 600 years, stretching across 3 continents, and profoundly shaping the world we live in today? An empire of legendary sultans, brilliant architects, and fearsome janissaries? Today, we're diving deep into the incredible story of the Ottoman Empire. So, where did it all begin? Picture this. It's the late 13th century in Anatolia, modern-day Turkey. The once mighty Seljuk Sultanate is crumbling, leaving a patchwork of small Turkish principalities or beyliks. Among them, a charismatic leader named Osman I emerges. From a small territory in the northwest, Osman and his successors began a relentless campaign of expansion. They weren't just skilled warriors, they were also pragmatic rulers. Early on, they adopted a policy of tolerance towards different religions and cultures within their growing domain, which made their rule more stable and appealing to conquered peoples. This strategy was a key ingredient in their early success. By the mid-14th century, the Ottomans had crossed into Europe, establishing a foothold in the Balkans. Murad I, one of Osman's successors, captured the city of Adrianople, renamed it Edirne, and made it his new capital. He also established one of the empire's most famous and formidable institutions, the Janissaries. These were elite infantry units, originally formed from Christian boys taken from Balkan provinces through a levy system called the Divsurm. They were converted, raised as loyal servants of the Sultan, and trained to be the most disciplined and effective fighting force of their time. The Janissaries were the sharp end of the Ottoman spear, crucial to their military dominance for centuries. Now let us fast forward to a moment that shook the world, 1453. The target was the legendary city of Constantinople, the heart of the Byzantine Empire and the bastion of Eastern Orthodox Christianity for over 1,000 years. Its massive walls had repelled countless sieges. But a young, ambitious sultan, Mehmed II, was determined to succeed where others had failed. He employed massive cannons, including the famous Great Turkish Bombard, designed by a Hungarian engineer named Orban. After a grueling 53-day siege, Mehmed's forces breached the walls. On May 29, 1453, Constantinople fell. Mehmed rode into the city, earning the title Fatih, or the Conqueror. He immediately began transforming the city into the new Ottoman capital, Istanbul, a vibrant center of commerce, culture, and power that would become one of the greatest cities on earth. The fall of Constantinople wasn't just a military victory. It marked the end of the Middle Ages and the true beginning of the Ottoman Empire as a world power. The 16th and 17th centuries are often called the Golden Age of the Ottoman Empire, and one name stands above all others during this period: Suleiman the Magnificent. His reign, from 1520 to 1566, represents the absolute peak of Ottoman power and cultural achievement. On the battlefield, Suleiman was a brilliant military strategist. He expanded the empire's borders significantly, conquering Belgrade and Rhodes, defeating the Hungarians at the Battle of Mohacs, and laying siege to Vienna itself, striking fear into the heart of Europe. His navies, under the command of admirals like Barbarossa Hayreddin Pasha, dominated the Mediterranean Sea. The Ottoman Empire under Suleiman was a true global superpower. But Suleiman wasn't just about conquest. He was also known as Kanuni, or the lawgiver. He oversaw a complete overhaul of the Ottoman legal system, creating a comprehensive code that would remain in effect for centuries. This period also witnessed an incredible cultural flourishing. The arts, literature, and especially architecture reached new heights. The chief architect, Mimar Sinan, a genius comparable to Michelangelo, designed over 300 major structures, including the magnificent Süleymaniye Mosque in Istanbul and the Selimiye Mosque in Edirne. These structures, with their vast domes and slender minarets, are not just places of worship. They are masterpieces of engineering and art that still define the skyline of Turkey today. Life within this vast, multicultural empire was incredibly complex. At the top was the Sultan, an absolute monarch who held immense power. He ruled from the opulent Topkapi Palace in Istanbul, a sprawling complex that was not just a royal residence, but also the administrative center of the empire. The government, known as the Sublime Porte, was run by a complex bureaucracy headed by the Grand Vizier. Society was organized under the millet system, which allowed different religious communities, like Orthodox Christians and Jews, to govern their own affairs according to their own laws and customs. This system granted a degree of autonomy and was a key reason why such a diverse empire could hold together for so long. The economy thrived on trade routes that connected east and west, with bustling bazaars in cities like Istanbul, Aleppo, and Cairo filled with spices, silks, and goods from across the known world. However, no empire lasts forever. By the late 17th century, the cracks began to show. The Second Siege of Vienna in 1683 ended in a disastrous defeat for the Ottomans. This marked a psychological turning point. The once unstoppable Ottoman military machine was starting to fall behind the rapidly advancing military technology of Europe. Internally, the empire faced challenges too. A series of less capable sultans, political infighting within the palace, and growing corruption weakened the central government. The Janissaries, once the empire's strength, became a powerful political force in their own right, often resisting reforms and even overthrowing sultans who threatened their privileges. Economically, the discovery of new sea routes to Asia by European powers bypassed the traditional land routes controlled by the Ottomans, leading to a decline in trade revenue. Inflation and economic strain grew. The empire, which had once been at the forefront of science and technology, began to lag behind the European Renaissance and the Industrial Revolution. It came to be known as the sick man of Europe. Throughout the 19th century, the Ottomans attempted a series of reforms known as the Tanzimat. These were aimed at modernizing the army, the administration, and the economy to catch up with Europe. New schools were built, a modern legal code was introduced, and attempts were made to create a common Ottoman identity, or Ottomanism, to unite the empire's diverse peoples. However, these reforms were often too little, too late. At the same time, the wave of nationalism sweeping across Europe began to infect the empire's Christian subjects in the Balkans. Greece, Serbia, Bulgaria, and Romania all fought for and won their independence, chipping away at the empire's European territories. The final blow came with World War I. The Ottoman Empire, led by the Three Pashas, made the fateful decision to join the Central Powers alongside Germany and Austria-Hungary. The war was a catastrophe. The empire fought on multiple fronts: in the Caucasus against Russia, in Mesopotamia and Palestine against the British, and at Gallipoli, where Ottoman forces achieved a famous but costly victory against the Allies. However, the war drained the empire's last resources and led to immense suffering. The conflict also saw the tragic and systematic persecution and mass killings of the Armenian population, an event widely recognized as a genocide. By 1918, the Ottoman Empire was defeated. The subsequent Turkish War of Independence, led by a brilliant general named Mustafa Kemal, led to the abolition of the Sultanate in 1922. On the ashes of the old empire, a new, modern nation was born, the Republic of Turkey, with Mustafa Kemal, now known as Ataturk, as its first president. And so, after more than 6 centuries, the story of the Ottoman Empire came to an end. But its legacy is everywhere. It's in the architecture, the food, the music, and the political boundaries of the Middle East, North Africa, and the Balkans. It was an empire of staggering achievements and profound contradictions, a bridge between worlds that continues to fascinate and influence us to this day. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the history of the Ottoman Empire. If you found this fascinating, please hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into history, and let me know in the comments which empire you'd like to explore next. Until next time, stay curious.